Imagine this. You walk into a store to buy a simple product. Maybe it's a bottle of alcohol during Prohibition. Maybe it's a rare sneaker that's sold out everywhere. Maybe it's a medicine that's suddenly illegal in your country. But here's the problem. The government says you can't buy it anymore. So officially, it doesn't exist. Yet somehow, everyone still has it. Your friend knows a guy. That guy knows another guy. And suddenly you're paying $200 for something that normally costs $20. Look, we've all seen this happen. Whether it's concert tickets, banned products, rare collectibles, or things governments try to outlaw completely. And every time it happens, something fascinating appears. A black market. Now here's the strange part. Black markets aren't small. According to the International Monetary Fund, the global underground economy is estimated to be worth between $10 and $30 trillion. Let that sink in. That's roughly the size of the entire economy of countries like United States or China. But most people think black markets are just about crime, drug dealers, smugglers, illegal trade, and while those things do exist, that's actually not the interesting part. The interesting part is that black markets reveal something incredibly powerful about how money works. And if you understand the economics behind them, you start to see how real markets actually function. My name is Mr. Yu, and I spend way too much time thinking about how money systems behave when governments try to control them. If you're someone who's trying to understand why prices rise, why shortages happen, and why certain markets explode overnight, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Because today we're going to talk about something most finance channels ignore: the economics of black markets, and more importantly, what they reveal about human behavior and money. The moment a black market is born. Here's the thing. A black market doesn't start with criminals. It starts with a rule. Specifically, a rule that says you can't buy or sell this anymore. Now you might be thinking, well, obviously that stops the market. But here's what most people don't realize. Demand doesn't disappear just because something becomes illegal. If people want something badly enough, they will find another way to get it. And this is where the math gets interesting. Let's say a product normally sells for $20. Now imagine the government bans it. What happens? Supply collapses. Only a few people are willing to risk selling it. Suddenly that same product isn't $20 anymore. It's $50, then $100, sometimes even $500. Not because the product changed, but because risk became part of the price. And this is where black market economics begins. Look, every market price is basically made up of three things: production cost, demand, and risk. In normal markets, risk is relatively low. If you sell coffee at a cafe, the worst thing that happens is bad reviews. But in black markets, risk becomes enormous. You could get fined, arrested, or lose everything, so sellers need to be compensated for that risk. And that compensation comes through higher prices. Here's a simple example. Imagine someone selling a product illegally. If they get caught, the penalty might be $50,000, but the chance of getting caught is maybe 1 in 100 transactions. So to cover that risk, the seller might add $500 to every sale. That's basic economics. The price isn't just paying for the product anymore. It's paying for the danger of selling it. Now this is where it gets really interesting. When something becomes illegal, supply doesn't just shrink. It becomes unpredictable. An unpredictable supply creates extreme price volatility. One week something might cost $50. The next week it's $500. Why? Because maybe a shipment got confiscated. Maybe a supplier got arrested. Maybe transportation routes changed. And every one of those disruptions reduces supply, which pushes prices higher. Economists actually saw this very clearly during the Prohibition in the United States. When alcohol was banned in 1920, people didn't stop drinking. Instead, an entire underground industry appeared. Bootleggers, smugglers, secret bars called speakeasies, and alcohol prices skyrocketed. Some estimates suggest alcohol became 3 to 5 times more expensive during Prohibition, not because it was harder to produce, but because it was illegal to sell. But here's the psychological twist. Sometimes banning something actually increases demand. This is known as the forbidden fruit effect. When people are told they can't have something, it suddenly becomes more attractive. You see this with everything: restricted fashion items, illegal streaming content, banned books, even limited sneaker releases. Scarcity creates status, and status increases demand, which means prices climb even higher. So ironically, trying to eliminate a product can sometimes make it more valuable. Now here's where black markets become incredibly inefficient, because when markets go underground, they lose all the systems that make normal markets efficient. Things like legal contracts, consumer protections, quality standards, reliable distribution. Instead, black markets rely on trust networks, friends of friends, reputation, and sometimes intimidation. This dramatically increases transaction costs, which again pushes prices higher. Imagine buying medicine from a pharmacy. It's regulated, tested, certified. Now imagine buying medicine from a stranger in a parking lot. Suddenly you're paying extra just for trust, and that uncertainty becomes part of the price. Now you might be thinking, if black markets always appear, why do governments keep banning things? And the answer is actually pretty simple. Governments aren't always trying to eliminate a market. Sometimes they're trying to reduce it. Because even if illegal markets still exist, they usually become smaller and more expensive, which means fewer people participate. And from a policy perspective, that's often the goal, not elimination, just reduction. Here's a statistic that might surprise you. The global underground economy is estimated to represent about 20% of total world GDP. That includes everything from unreported income, illegal trade, informal labor, and black market goods. In some countries, the underground economy is actually larger than the official economy, which means millions of people survive financially through systems that technically don't exist. And that reveals something profound about economics. Markets don't disappear. They adapt. Here's what most people don't realize. Black markets aren't just about illegal goods. They're actually a pure version of supply and demand. No regulations, no price controls, no taxes, just buyers and sellers negotiating value, which makes them an incredible case study for economists, because they show exactly what happens when markets are driven purely by incentives. And those incentives can produce some very strange outcomes. And this is where the story gets even more fascinating. Because today, black markets aren't just physical anymore. They're digital, cryptocurrency, encrypted messaging, anonymous online marketplaces. Technology has made underground markets more global than ever before, which means enforcement has become significantly harder. In many ways, digital tools have created a new type of economic system, one that exists outside traditional financial control. Now you might be wondering, why should you care about any of this? You're probably not planning to participate in black markets, but the lesson here is deeper than that. Black markets show us something fundamental about economics. Incentives always win. If people want something badly enough, and if money can be made supplying it, a market will appear. No matter how many rules try to stop it, and understanding that principle helps you understand how real economies behave. Because whether you're investing, running a business, or managing your own finances, everything comes back to incentives. Look, money systems are incredibly complicated, but human behavior isn't. People respond to incentives, they chase opportunity, and they find ways around restrictions. Black markets are simply the clearest example of that principle. They show us what happens when demand collides with prohibition. And the result is always the same. Prices rise, risk increases, and new markets appear. So if you learned something from this video, take a second to think about the markets around you. Ask yourself, where are the shortages? Where are the restrictions? And where might new opportunities appear because of them? Because sometimes the most powerful economic insights come from places most people never think to look. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and subscribe, because on this channel we break down how money actually works. And more importantly, how to use that knowledge to make smarter financial decisions. I'll see you in the next one.